Steve, how has this week been in terms of preparation? How's everything been going?
Yeah, all good. Been a good preparation. Everybody here that we expected to be here, so good, ready to go.
The platform that the Portugal performance gave you, what similarities do you want to see in this game, and what needs to be added?
Similarities is obviously, when you play against the top sides, of which Croatia are definitely one, you have to defend well. So there's your similarity. We have to defend well. I think we have to do a little bit better with the ball. We didn't quite get enough possession against Portugal. With the little bit of possession that we did get, we showed that we can create some chances. So that's what we have to improve on. It's
obviously home advantage this time, but what lessons did you learn in the fixture away in Croatia?
I think for the players, they probably learned that they can be competitive going away. Difficult match, difficult atmosphere, but they can go away and they can compete with these top sides. And that's been the one thing over the Nations League campaign, that we've shown we can be competitive at this level. We have to find the extra little details that turn these performances into results. Maybe like we managed to get a point in the last one. Can we get 3 points out of the next two games?
How pleasing is the selection options you have to have pretty much the team that played against Portugal and did so well, but then have someone like John McGinn coming back in, a nice problem to have. Yeah,
and Stuart Armstrong and Tommy Conway and Scott McKenna and Jack Henry. It's great. Haven't slept this week because you've got so many permutations going through your head. It's brilliant. So, good choices again.
I think it was your assistant manager, John Carver, who said it's time for a win. Given the improvements that you've seen in performances, do you feel that a win would be really significant, almost to kind of cement the fact that you have made those developments?
Yeah, it would certainly be good. I think on the performances we've had so far, we probably deserve a little bit more points-wise than we've got. But we've got two games to come, and still a chance to be really competitive in this group and stay at that level, which is what we all want.
Have you targeted points where you think you might pick up points in the last couple of games?
Yeah, both games. Both games. We recognise the qualities of our opponents, but hopefully they know that they're in for tough games as well, both here against Croatia and away against Poland.
What a bit more specifically are you expecting from Croatia?
They're just a good team, they're always well organised, they're always a threat going forward. They can score goals. They have one little magician in midfield who can run a game if you allow them to. I don't think we allowed them to do that in Croatia, and hopefully we don't allow them to do that at Hampden.
How do you assess, Steve, the selection dilemma you have at the top of the pitch, obviously with Shea and the likes of Lewis having to pull out?
No, it's good. We've got good options. Like I said, Tommy Conway back involved. Ryan Gall's shown that he can come in and do a good job. Ben Doak was good for us last camp. You've got John McGinn back, you've got Ryan Christie, you've got Stuart Armstrong. So, like I said, sleepless nights.
Do you feel this is that continuation of continually improving, building a bit of momentum with good performances, and it's just the result that's sort of the only thing you need to sort of...
Yeah, the most important thing. Yeah, it is the most important thing we need. We need to, like we've said before, we've spoke about it pretty much for the last couple of camps, last couple of press conferences, turn the performances into points. That's what we need to do.
You've mentioned a couple of times about how important it is to be playing the best constantly to improve. We've obviously done that in a very short spell here in these three camps, but have you seen that improvement, even it is just up until September? What are the growth and the improvements of this squad playing against your three teams?
No, I think we've improved. I think if you're objective and you look at the games, we've shown that we can be competitive at this level, which is what we want to do. And then when you go into our next qualifying campaign is the World Cup qualifying campaign, you know that when you play against the pot one teams, you can be competitive against them. That's what we have to aim for.
Obviously, you're not looking at those World Cup qualification campaign yet, but obviously the results of this could determine seedings or whatnot. But how much of a better place do you feel you're in now from when you started this, playing against this sort of high-level opponents?
We've improved, but we haven't got the results that we want, so let's improve a little bit more.
Steve, you talk about improving that a little bit more, say you just need that extra detail. What is it? What changes 1 point into 3 points against these top-level sides?
Defend like you defended against Portugal, but add the extra layer. Maybe when we get to the final third of the pitch, find that little bit more quality that allows us to create not just a chance, but a goal chance, a chance to score. So the players know, we speak to them a lot about it. We speak to them about where we feel we have to improve, and they've been taking it on board, and hopefully in the next 2 matches you can see the results.
We've been looking at the possible permutations. John Carver was in the other day saying there's a chance the team can still finish second. Is that what you're saying to the boys on the training pitch, or is it just about focusing on picking up 3 points on Friday, then going to Monday?
Yeah, just the next game, always the next game. The next game's the most important one. If we can get 3 points there, then we'll try and work out the permutations from that.
Do you feel that if there is a positive end and to the year, that you can look back at 2024, which obviously had the European Championships, the disappointment of not getting out of the group, but do you think ending the year on a high can send you in a positive note for 2025 and that World Cup qualification campaign? Of
course, it would be nice to finish with a couple of victories, or at least one victory, and set ourselves up for a good year next year, for sure.
Steve, you said when you announced your squad that you were hoping you'd get the chance to have a chat with Lawrence Shankland during this camp. Have you managed to do that? And having had a few days to train with him, how do you assess his mindset and his form?
Yeah, he's good. Listen, I've been lucky to work with a lot of really good strikers throughout my career, play with and work with a lot of really good strikers. They all go through little patches or little spells in their game where they don't score. All they can do is work hard, keep getting in the right positions, and eventually the goals will come. So, no, Lawrence is fine.
Steve, what is it about Croatia? They're a nation that kind of qualifies routinely. They get far in competitions. A small nation like ourselves. What is it they've got that we need to get?
That's a very, very good question. Obviously, they've got the system set up right from the young ages all the way through, because they seem to have a conveyor belt of talent where they keep bringing these players through. They also have a lot of players with longevity at the top level, over 100 caps or getting between 75 and 100 caps. So they've just got the balance right. They produce a lot of good young players. They bring them through. They allow them to play quite a lot of games in their own country before they move out, which I think is a really good grounding, something that maybe we can get better at in this country, and show a pathway for the young players. I think there's a lot that we need to keep trying to change in Scotland if we want to get better.
And do you believe that we can do that? Because there's a big kind of topic of conversations now about young players coming through at clubs, not enough young Scottish players at clubs. Can we get to that level? Do you think it's possible to get to a point where we're qualifying and being successful at tournaments?
Yes, but I think we still have a lot of work to do, and at some stage we have to sit down, or somebody has to sit down, whoever it is, the think tank, if you like. We need to come up with something that's maybe a little bit different that we haven't tried before, to see if we can improve it. Because if we keep doing what we're doing, it's not going to get any better. So we have to try and improve.
Steve, if Andy Robertson plays the next couple of games, he'll be on 80 caps, third time, all-time kind of cap holder. How conceivable is it in the next couple of years that Andy could go and get another 20-odd caps and be Scotland's all-time cap holder?
I think it's very conceivable. If he continues at the same level of performance. I always speak highly about Andy. I think he comes into the camp, he's grown into the role of being captain. He never lets his country down. There's no reason why he can't go on and get those amount of caps, given a fair run of injuries and form over the next 5 years. There's no doubt.
How big an achievement would that be, given where he's come from, to go above Kenny Dalglish in that all-time list?
Don't want to get ahead of myself. That's too far away to think about. Let's get Andy to 80, and then we'll start again next year and keep counting.
Steve, I think we're due to speak to Scott McTominay after you leave. Have you been as delighted as everybody else by the kind of impact that he's making in Italy? And to go back to your earlier point about kind of getting better, does that help us if we've got players going to top leagues abroad?
Yeah, it definitely helps, especially if they go away and have the impact that Scott's had. No, it's been great. He's got there. He's gone to Italy. He's hit the ground running. He's been a great player for us. Certainly for me over the last 5.5 years of my time as head coach. He's always been there. Doesn't matter where I played him. Even when I played him out of position at centre back, he was still there, still playing. So it just shows you what the qualities that he's got. And to go out there and hit the ground running in Serie A is not always easy. A lot of players would go there and struggle to find their feet in that league because it's slightly different to the English Premier League, a very tactical league. But he's working under a really good head coach as well. So I'm sure together they'll keep improving.
Steve, just going back to Robert's point, because it's been a big debate, and you've been a club manager here. Could we incentivise or make it essential that clubs play under 21 Scottish players, or is that not the kind of thing that a manager or clubs would accept, or do they have to
pay
accept?
for it?
Well, that's what I mean. Do we have to do something like that, or would it not fly?
Like I said, I think it's obviously I'm head coach and I concentrate when I come to these camps on trying to get the points and the results that we want for the Tartan Army that come to watch us. Going down into the youth level is probably needs somebody with a different skill set, or me to step away from this job and maybe go away and think about it a little bit more deeply. But I'll go back to the point I made earlier, is if we continue to do what we're doing, we'll always get what we get. So we have to try and find a way. But that has to be driven, the change has to be driven from the top. So we have to get to the top and say, look, they have to understand that we need to change, and then we try to change.
Do you think that understanding is there though, Steve, from the guys at the top? Because Gordon Strachan used to speak about this when he was sitting where you're sitting. Still speaks about it now.
I'm sure previous head coaches that have done it before, going way back. Is there an understanding? Yeah, I think there is an understanding, but it needs a collective understanding. It's not just the people at the Scottish FA, it's the people that are in charge at the clubs. Everybody has to sit down and try to work out a way that we can improve moving forward.
Steve, you speak to people in Croatia, and one thing they always say is the success is down to the fact that everything, the national team is top of the pile, everything feeds back from that. That doesn't seem to be the case in Scotland at times, and is that also part of the problem here?
I think for my group of players, the national team is very, very important. I think when they come away, they've shown that they want to be successful for their country. I think I can't really speak for the clubs, whether they think the national team is more important than their club. And having been a club manager, you know you've got your own interests that you have to look after. When you're the national team manager, you can't forget that you've been a club manager. So I understand both sides of the argument. As a club manager, you're under pressure week to week to get the results. And if that means that you're playing more experienced players, sometimes that's what you do. But what we have to do is we have to find like I said before, like Croatia have a conveyor belt of talents. We have to find more young players. The more young players you find, the more likely it is that some of them will get into the first team at our clubs. If you go back to when I was coming through, St Mirren, Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hearts, Hibs, they were full of Scottish players. And those players were good players. So it's something that we have to do. I don't think we'll ever go back to the case where you've got the utopia where you've got 16 Scottish players at one club that feed the first team. That's not going to happen anymore. But at the moment, you've probably only got 2 or 3 that are in and around the fringes at most clubs. Can we get more? Can we get half a dozen? Can we get 8? That's the type of numbers that I think we should be looking to get. Last one from Matthew.
Steve, on that point, I mean, clubs in Croatia have homegrown player quotas. Every squad has X number of homegrown players. It's something that they've done in England, they've had great success with. When you're talking about doing something different, is that the kind of thing that you mean to stipulate you must have X number of Scottish players coming through? Do they just have to look at shaking it up a little bit and trying something different along those lines?
Don't forget, before I came back to Kilmarnock, I've been away from Scotland for a hell of a long time. I believe that previously they tried to put the stipulation that you had to have under 21 players on the bench. basically all you do if you do that is you sit a young player on the bench and he misses out in game time. It's really important for young players to play. So it's to find a way to get these young players to play, not to stipulate that they have to be in the matchday squad, because then they don't play at the underage level, they don't play with the senior team, and then they don't get any minutes. The more minutes they get, the more likely they are to have a career.
Just finally, Steve, we're talking about kind of Ben Doak, kind of fairly recently you were saying about how we have to protect him, you have to protect him in terms of game time and minutes and stuff like that. Have you changed your thinking on him, given how he's taken to international football? He seems to be in a great place at the minute.
But you still have to protect him. You still have to look after him. You still have to understand that he's a young player making his way in the game. Watching his performance for Middlesbrough, where he's doing very well under, in my opinion, a really good manager in Michael Carrick, who's teaching Ben the game. But that's at the English Championship level. And then coming to this level where you're playing for your country against Pot 1 teams, top teams, is a different level again. So you have to be aware that Ben will improve at this level as well. So we have to give him time, bring him along properly, and hopefully he's, like I said before, he's there for the next 10, 12 years at the international level, not just for a short spell and then dropping away.
Steve,
how many final ones do we got?
Look at Steve. Luka Modric had his moments last month, but you contained him pretty well. Can you find yourself appreciating his talents and what could be his last appearance in Scotland? He's a very different kind of character to Ronaldo, who left the scene slightly petulantly last month after the game here.
There are certain players that even I would pay money to go and watch. I'm in a fortunate position where I don't normally have to pay to go and watch these players, but players of that level are somebody that you want to go and say you've seen them play live. So yeah, that'd be what I'd say about Luka Modric. And even last month with Cristiano Ronaldo, Lewandowski was here. It's nice to see these players, the top level players, and yeah, I would pay to watch them.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.